This is Matthew Martineau. I'm at Qualcomm Connected Experiences and have been involved with the developer tools team and the Alliance infrastructure team working on the AllJoin code. So our goal here is to discuss how to contribute code to the AllSeen Alliance. There are a number of procedural steps and then actual technical aspects to using the appropriate tools. And so we'll just walk through each of those. Some of this is kind of high level, and the goal is not to, for example, do some low-level training on how to use Git. There are online tutorials that do that a lot better. So I will let people refer to those and show you where we have some links to help you do that. So we'll get started with how to become an AllSeen Alliance contributor. So before you register, it's important to understand IP policies with the Alliance. I have added links to the slides here to allow you to go review those in writing. And that information will, if I can bring it up. So these policies describe both how IP is treated coming into the Alliance and for people who are downloading code from the Alliance. One of the big things to notice here is the use of the ISC license. That the full text is at opensource.org and also found in all the Alliance source code files. It describes the terms under which the code can be used. And that IP policy also describes how code is assigned to the Alliance when it's contributed. The one main part of that is the developer certificate of origin. On the Garrett source control and code review system, there's a link to these sign-off rules, which I can also show you, sign-off rules. And the idea here is that you are, when you upload a properly formatted commit, you add a sign-off line with your email address and name, and that sign-off line certifies that you have the right to give certain rights, give that code under certain terms to the Alliance, or that it's covered by a contribution agreement. So everybody has to sign according to the developer certificate of origin. It's also up to you or your employer as an Alliance member to optionally fill out an AllSeen Alliance contribution agreement that is much more detailed in terms of the rights it grants and handling of copyrights and such. So I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not really qualified to give a detailed commentary on how all that works, but if you have any questions about what's appropriate for you or your company, then I encourage you to contact your legal department. So once you determine that the IP policy is compatible with what you want to do, you can go to the allseenalliance.org site and register yourself using your email address and creating a password. And this will create a username and password that allows you to contribute to the Alliance and use the servers that we have available for communicating with people and uploading code, participating in, commenting on bugs and that kind of thing. Without having a username and password, most of these things are still public, but they're read-only. So, for example, you'll be able to see commits, you can download code, you can look at bug reports, you can view wiki pages. But if you want to upload code or participate in a code review or comment on bugs or edit wiki pages, you will need to be a registered Alliance user. So any questions yet about that sign-up process? Okay. So just to give an overview of what some of those servers are that you can use, probably the first one that is important for contributing code is Garrett source control. And that is the system that's both our server, our version control server, where you can clone code, download it to your machine with the complete revision history, or you can, and this is also where you upload code and participate in code reviews. And also on that site is a revision control browser that lets you look at all the complete history of the AllSeen Alliance code. Second site to be aware of is Jira. This is a bug tracker that has projects available for each AllSeen Alliance working group. We'll discuss what working groups are in just a minute. The wiki is a place where we have a lot of documentation related to the contribution process, specific things that contributors to AllSeen need to know, but developers just downloading AllSeen releases to use in their products aren't necessarily concerned with. And there are details here about Alliance operations in terms of the technical steering committee that makes decisions about features that go into future AllSeen Alliance releases, working groups, these training sessions, release processes, and guidelines like information about how to contribute source code, a lot of what we're discussing here today. And finally, there's a web interface for the mailing lists we have. We have a number of mailing lists set up. Again, these map to working groups, the TSC I had mentioned. I do want to point out that these dash tools mailing lists are not really used for discussion. Those are things you can use if you are, for example, interested in getting updates for all the bugs that are filed. So these are automatically generated email messages from these AllSeen Alliance servers I'm showing you. So one term that I was using on the previous page was a working group, and this is an idea we have within the Alliance. So these are groups of people who are responsible for certain areas of code at the Alliance. So right now there are 4 working groups: core, base services, certification and compliance, and developer tools. Each one of these groups is made up of committers and contributors. Committers are people who have contributed a significant amount of code to the working group, to the Alliance, and they have the privilege of approving everybody else's code changes to include there. So on the Garrett code review site, they are some of the most important people doing code reviews because they have the final say on whether something becomes part of the AllSeen Alliance code base. Any registered Alliance user can participate in a code review and make notes, make recommendations, but in terms of the decision on which code becomes merged in and part of the next release, it's the committers who decide that. The one special role for one person is the working group chair. This is someone chosen by the committers from the group of committers. They elect this person to represent the working group in the technical steering committee. And so the technical steering committee is the group that kind of makes overall technical decisions about the direction of the AllSeen Alliance across all the working groups, and makes sure decides what features go into releases. The forum for discussion between working groups. They decide when to create new working groups or when to create new projects. And finally, the next group of people is contributors to a working group. So any AllSeen Alliance user can interact with the working group using their email list, can upload changes, file bugs, and therefore start participating, start contributing code. And after some time, and the contributors form a relationship with the committers, they get a reputation for the quality of code they're adding and showing that they are trustworthy and able to make good decisions and contribute good code. Then contributors over time can become committers and participate in the working group on that level and have the ability to approve commits. There's also a requirement that committers are an AllSeen Alliance member in some way, whether it's a community member or part of a company that's at a higher membership level. So that covers the people part of working groups, and then there's the code part. So the people in a working group are responsible for maintaining a specific body of code. Right now we have a collection of Git repositories across the 4 working groups I mentioned: certification and compliance, core, developer tools, and services. There is a multimedia code base in there right now that is currently not maintained and does not have an active working group. So to learn about different working groups, you can refer to the wiki. Each working group has its own wiki page, it's found here, and there's a description of who the members are, where to find their mailing list, what the active projects are, and who the maintainer is for each, and further information about upcoming releases and what that working group plans to provide. So the place to start if you want to participate in a working group is generally the email list. So these are on that list.allseen.org, list.allseenalliance.org site. And anybody is welcome to send messages, and the working group members will be reading those and responding to those. So once you've decided that you'd like to contribute code and you have your AllSeen Alliance account, actually even for this step, for checking out the code, you don't have to be registered. You can just download it. There are two ways to check out the AllSeen Alliance code. One is using the repo tool. This is sort of a wrapper around Git version control that allows you to automatically download a group of Git repositories. And with just two commands here, you can download, I think that it's currently, I don't know, around a dozen Git repositories at once. This has another convenient feature that it automatically sets up your Git workspace to add appropriate content to a commit message. There's a script called a commit hook that runs at check-in time. I'll explain that when I talk about commit messages. Repo does have a caveat. It only works on Linux and Mac, not Windows. So if you're a Windows user, you have to use option 2, or if you do not need every single Git repository, you just want to download a specific Git repository, you can just use Git directly. So you can, this example is to clone the core/alljoin, core/alljoin repository. And if you're going to make check-ins and send those to the AllSeen Alliance Garrett instance, which is where all commits that go into AllSeen code go, you need to download a script into a certain place that will add a commit ID, which again we'll show you on the next page. One way to download it is this command here. In case you want to, there are more details about this on the wiki. If you go look at this contributing source code page, it has further links about installing repo and what a commit hook is and what exactly it inserts. So once you have that code checked out, and assuming that you have some familiarity with Git and you're able to make it commit, you will need to create an appropriately formatted commit message. Now, like I said earlier, I am not going to go into detailed training on how to use Git command by command. This wiki page has some very simple examples that'll get you set up, help you set up your email address and name and make a commit, just at the very simplest level. But Git itself is a powerful tool that takes some time to learn, and if you are not yet experienced with Git, I recommend these two links. gitscn.com/book has an entire book on Git version control. Gitimmersion.com is another option. And there are a lot of resources out there, such as GitHub, that have a wealth of training material as well. So if you get to the point where you've edited a file and you enter the git command to create a commit, you'll be asked to enter a commit message. The format on this isn't going to be enforced on your computer. If you try to upload a change, some parts of it will be, the Garrett server will tell you if you don't have a change ID or if you don't have a signed off by name. But Git will gives you a lot of flexibility here. But we're asking people to stick to a convention where there's a one-line summary at the beginning of the commit message, not too long, about under 70 characters. Sometimes you'll see a block of text at the beginning, such as ASA core dash some number. That is typically a reference to a bug report in JIRA. So following that summary line is then an empty line and then a fuller explanation of the commit, and then another empty line. And a change ID will be automatically added if you've installed if you've used repo or if you've installed the hook according to the instructions. This is what Garrett uses to identify a change in the code review system. So if a change goes through multiple iterations, this change ID stays the same in every commit message. It will show up as part of the same code review. So to show this example of an existing code review, there is a patch set 1 and a patch set 2. These have different Git commit IDs, but they are both the same change ID. And also earlier on in the presentation, I talked about the DCO, Developer Certificate of Origin, and how that necessitates this signed off by line. And you'll need to have the signed off by line as part of your commit in order for it to be successfully uploaded to the code review system. So one aspect of Git is that it is a distributed version control system. And what that means is when you create a commit, it only happens on your local machine. And it's a separate step to send that change to the AllSeen Alliance. In Git, that's known as pushing a change. So once you've checked something in, you've created a commit, and it shows up in your local workspace, then you can send it to the AllSeen Alliance Garrett server using either repo or Git directly. Repo enforces a process where you create a local branch using the repo start command. You make your changes after that and check them in. And then you upload the changes using this repo upload command. If you aren't using repo, or you prefer to use the Git command line, you can push the commit. So in Git, the command is git push. Origin is telling it which server to use. So if you've downloaded the code from Git according to the instructions earlier, it'll be the server name has this alias origin, which is kind of the most common server name, the most common alias that you'll see in Git across all kinds of tutorials. And then you need to tell it which changes you're uploading. So head is a shortcut in Git to say, my most recent changes. And this rest for master is something that tells Garrett which branch you're intending to upload a change to. So most developers are going to be contributing changes to the master branch. This is the main place where changes are added. As development proceeds on a specific release, most of the work is done on a master branch. And as the Alliance nears the time for a release, there's a release branch that's made that only has very specific changes for bug fixes. So if typically the people doing those bug fixes are have been involved with the Alliance for a while and will know what those branches mean, most fixes are going to go to the master branch first. So getting started, this exact command to git push origin head rest for master is going to be exactly what you do. So once you run that git push command, the change will appear in Garrett on this open list. So right now you can see a whole group of changes that are available for review and waiting for one of the workgroup committers to review or say that they're okay to merge. So, from this list we can click on one. All the commits, all the comments on this code review are listed, and you're able to go in and review the change. For this one's just inserting one line. And if there's a review to make, you can post comments line by line, and then go in and leave a review commit and say, whether it looks good or it needs changes. And since I'm a developer tools committer, I have the ability to say a change is approved. And if I were to click this button right now, basically that change would be integrated as a commit on the code generator and show up in this commit history here. And anybody who downloaded code from the Alliance would see that change and be able to use that code. So it's important to note that when a change is uploaded and it's sitting here in Garrett, it is not yet part of the Alliance code base. It is sort of parked off to the side so it can be reviewed and potentially iterated on, like this one, like patch set 1 needed some changes, and so patch set 2 was added. And so only after a change is reviewed and approved and merged will it become officially part of the AllSeen Alliance code. And it's also, one other way to participate in a working group is to participate in code reviews. All the changes are public in Garrett. Anybody can come look at the list of open changes. Look at the changes that are being proposed and say whether they think those changes are good or not, and suggest modifications if they see a mistake. And that'll help the AllSeen Alliance produce better code. Now, if you do upload a change to Garrett, we do ask you to watch for notification email from garrett@allseenalliance.org. So the Garrett server will produce notification email whenever comments are added, code reviews are done, if someone gives it a +1 or -1 or merges things. And if a change is not approved, it's up to the original contributor to make updates and make that change acceptable to the Alliance, to the committers, and do the work to get that made part of the AllSeen Alliance code. So if you don't check back to see if changes were approved, or the notification messages go into your spam filter, then changes could just end up stalled in code review and never make it into the code base. So when you upload a change, we want to be clear about what the working group committers are looking for in a change. So they're going to approve. They're going to approve Git commits that meet these requirements. They obviously want the change to be correct. That the logic and the algorithms it's using need to actually do the right thing and not be buggy or miss important cases or have flawed logic, like that they don't implement a feature correctly or something. They want the code to be maintainable so that they aren't depending on the author of that patch to be the only one that understands it. They want everybody in the working group to be able to use that code, understand it, extend it in the future, or fix bugs. The code contributed also needs to be suitable for open source. It's not okay to cut and paste things from other projects, that sort of thing. And one other aspect is adherence to the AllSeen Alliance coding standards. Those standards are available on the wiki well. Hopefully this will be native wiki content soon, but for now what we have is a PDF version. I'm happy to answer what questions I can. I see Nikhil's also online, so he can potentially help answer questions too. But I just at a high level, the kind of things that the coding standard discusses are, indentation style, using spaces instead of tabs, how long lines can be, how C code is structured, how functions are named in APIs, variable naming, how to write code that fits in with the Alliance code base and will, to people who have been working a lot with the AllSeen Alliance code and will work with it in the future, we want to have kind of a certain uniformity in having the code look alike and work alike and be recognizable, so that it's not just a sort of a randomized jumble of coding styles. We've got coding structure. We've got some guidelines on certain functions that often have security problems. I recommend that before you start writing Alliance code that you review this document, and if you have questions, again, contact the working group email list and find out if you've found an issue in the coding standard, or if you notice inconsistencies with the code you see in the AllSeen Alliance code base, then please discuss, bring that up, and find out what to do next. So that's as much as I have prepared to talk about up front. I'm happy to happy to answer any questions. I hope I've given the impression that, an open source project is it's about the code, but it's also about communication and the people involved. So, if you're interested in participating, the first step, isn't necessarily starting to write code, but the first step is a lot of times just communicating, getting in touch with the existing contributors using the mailing list, and starting a discussion, finding out what work is in progress, sharing what you might have in mind for future capabilities for AllJoin, and just being a participant in the community and moving the AllSeen Alliance forward to make it more useful to more people around the world. Any questions?
Hey, Matthew, maybe just a general question. So how long do you think the process would take to kind of get a change through the system?
Well, it varies depending on how long someone has been involved and the size of the change. So, oftentimes just getting started, it can take, even a small change can take a few days, just depending on, how often everybody checks back in code review. I think on the short end, if you find a problem or you find a bug that in JIRA, and you decide to dive in and fix that, you upload a change that very clearly fixes that bug and is fairly short, and the committer is able to recognize it. You might upload that change and the committer could see it in an hour and approve it, and then it's done. Depending on how soon the committer is able to check it, could take longer. So, for example, one of the commits I was showing was the original commit was made in Europe on one day, and then it got reviewed overnight in North America, and then the next day it was able to be updated in Europe. So just making the round trip on the time zones has extended that to multiple days, and it's and that's that's for a one-line patch. I would, and certainly if you get into patches that implement large feature sets or drastically change existing logic, there could be extensive code review involved. It could take a reviewer some time to completely validate that it's okay. They might need to download the patch to their local computer, try it out, try some test cases, and so that could even extend out beyond days into weeks. But the key is just to stay involved, to answer questions in code review, reply to comments as they're made, make changes as they're requested, or defend the existing code to say why it is the way it is. And so a lot of it just comes down to not leaving things sitting in code review for a long time. If you want something to be merged as quickly as possible, then it's up to both the person who uploaded it to be responsive and also the reviewer to be responsive. And I guess I'll also throw in that, you know, as you add more, you know, do more commits, you know, the first one might be a small change that takes a few rounds back and forth just to get familiar with the review process and to learn about the conventions, you know, in the code and how the code base works and everything. But over time, the committers learn about, you know, the people contributing code and learn about the quality they can expect and see, you know, people learn how the code base works, and as you get experienced with it, the review process does go faster. That's all I've got on that question. Anything else? Okay, I've got a question in chat. Is there some criteria about how much or how long the code should be tested before proposed? So I kind of, you know, as a guideline, we do want developers to confirm that the code works as expected. Often the best way to show that is to also contribute a unit test as part of the same commit as part of the code review, so that you can show that there's a, you know, for a bug fix, you could show that there's a problem before the change is made, and that the unit test then exercises the updated code. There aren't specific rules about the level of testing. That's something that will potentially come up in code review if it's a complicated change and it's in a critical area of code that requires a lot of confirmation before changing it. Then the person doing the code review might request more details about the test process. But if it's something like fixing things to better adhere to the code standard, that might not have very strict test requirements. Anything else? Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening in and asking questions. If you need to contact me, I recommend using the AllSeen Alliance mailing list. I'm on both AllSeen-DevTools at list.allseenalliance.org or for infrastructure questions at AllSeen-infrastructure at list.allseenalliance.org. You have anything else to add, Wayne?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for that.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Matthew. Bye.